Alright, so I'm gonna do a talk right now, a TEDx style talk about what I think when I think of thinking outside the box. Basically, obviously, when we all think about this, the majority of us think about something smart, like someone who's thinking outside the box is someone who's thinking in a way that is intelligent or smart. However, you're gonna see that the way I think about this is somewhat different. And so you can see why I think about it in a different way. I'm gonna tell you an anecdote from my life, something that happened to me for real, which was what sort of changed my mind a little about this. And I haven't thought in the same way about thinking outside the box after that event. It was an event that happened years ago to me, and I'm gonna tell you about it. Basically, I was at a job that I'm not at anymore. It was a software engineering job, programming related job. It was after that that I went into teaching math. So before I was a math teacher teaching math, and before I was, making videos here or sharing anything with anyone, publicly online, I was at that job. And, most people would think that I was very successful back then because the job paid well, or that I was, doing what was best for me, or perhaps even thinking outside the box because I was at that job, which was supposed to be, smart. Also back then, I used to think that I still thought, back then, that if you wanted to do something great, something that was truly outside the box, you had to be like a genius. You had to be thinking with a mindset that was at a genius level. So if you didn't have that, you could not do something that was outside the box. I still had that, in my opinion, incorrect mindset back then. There are a lot of things that you can do, even revolutionary things, that are not about how intelligent you are, and they don't even require intelligence, but they do require thinking outside the box. At that point in time, for someone like you in the society or the planet or the place where you live. And realizing that was what made me realize that it wasn't about intelligence, it was about thinking outside the box. So let's go back to the anecdote. So this was a day there at the job where I was, when they had a large meeting, and there were many people at that meeting. I was there, but I wasn't one of the main people in the meeting or anything like that, but I was a part of it. And there were many very smart people at that meeting, people who at that point in time I thought about them as people who were a lot smarter than me. And truth be told, for software engineering matters, for computer science, for coding, programming, for those sort of things, they really were a lot smarter than me. So there was someone on the table who obviously wanted to do something different that day, and this guy brought like one of these thought-provoking problems. These problems that the idea behind them is that you have to come up with a smart answer. You have to come up with something that is, supposedly outside the box, to be able to give an answer or a solution to the problem that is smart enough so that we can accept it as, okay, this is the best answer, this is the way to solve this problem. So this guy brought us this problem. The funny thing is that even though it left an impact on me, how differently I thought during that meeting about that problem from the other people who were a lot smarter than me, I still remember how I felt I don't remember everything about the problem. I know it was about they were like in a village, something like that, and they had to do like some sort of digging outside the village to get something that was absolutely necessary for them, like a mineral or something, some object that they really needed. And the idea behind the problem is that you had to, the problem even said it, you have to, think outside the box to come up with a solution or an answer for this problem of how to dig to look for this thing here in this location in the most efficient manner, in the way that is going to be possible with this few resources that they have in this village. So you cannot use more resources than what they have, which is not much, which is little. And you have to solve the digging problem, thinking outside the box to, with the resources that you have, you're gonna have to do a dig that is good enough to get what they need, and then you're gonna have to figure out how to solve the problem like that. So there was more to it, but I don't remember. I forgot. That was years ago, and obviously I didn't focus on what the problem said. The only thing I remember right now is how it made me feel, basically. So everyone on the table, especially the smart people that took it as a challenge, began thinking about, supposedly thinking outside the box about a smart solution for the problem. And they all began thinking of the solutions. I also thought about a programming related solution, which is really what they wanted for that problem in that context where they were asking for it, because it was something that you could apply anywhere, but they were asking for that answer in a very smart computer science environment. So they were looking for some sort of coding related, programming related problem, solution to the problem that was a very smart solution, something that will somehow, with these few resources, solve everything wonderfully. So you have to be, according to the problem, think outside the box to give that solution. So I thought about it, but right after I thought about my solution, which I knew that wasn't so great, the coding related, the computer science solution, I continued thinking about something else, and I thought, okay, but this problem never said there that it had to be a computer science solution, that it had to be a technological solution, that it had to be... The problem doesn't even tell you that you had to do the digging outside the village. They tell you that they have that outside the village, but they don't tell you that you cannot find this resource that they need in any other place. And I remember there was some difficulty about the digging on the village. So they wanted you to dig there in front of the village, even though it was more difficult to do it there. So one of the things that I thought after coming up with an okay answer with coding, which was just okay answer, because the answers that the other guys came up with, like the two architect level programmers, who were obviously a lot smarter than me for that, they were answers that were very, very, very good, very smart, like almost genius level, but they were with coding. And I was thinking outside that room, outside that meeting, outside that building, outside that city even, I was thinking, okay, if this was a real problem, not just on a computer science table, if this was for real, number one, I wouldn't just marry myself with digging outside the village. There are many other places where you can dig. I wouldn't even dig at the place where it is difficult to dig. I would try to look at another place where I know that it's going to be more reasonable, so it's not going to take as many resources, and it's going to be like, regardless of whether I do the smartest way to dig or not, I want to do it at a place that is better than that where they want me to dig, basically. So, everyone, and I didn't realize that until after everyone began giving their solutions, their answers to the computer science problem. No one was thinking outside the box of the computer science field, outside software engineering, outside programming. No one in the room, none of the people that participated and that listened to the problem and that tried to give a good answer were thinking outside the field of computer science. So they were giving extremely smart answers, like genius level. Like I'm glad I didn't say my answer and I only listened, because I was gonna look pretty stupid if I gave my answer. And I was already one of the people working there, where I was like junior level. And basically, but what I thought, I realized I didn't feel, not in the slightest bit, not in the slightest bit less smart, because I realized that day it was like a light bulb went on for me, that even people who were like geniuses, who were a lot smarter than me, were not thinking outside the box. Because thinking outside the box is not about giving the smartest answer just using the field that you work at, just using this technology, just using this method, just thinking in that tunnel, with that way. Perhaps the best answer is not even in that field. It is using something that is outside the field. Perhaps the best answer is not even thinking that way, it's thinking in another way. It's perhaps not doing it in that location, doing it in another location. So I began thinking about that so much, and it became so clear to me that even though the people there who solved the problem, even though they even gave a great solution to the problem, no one on that room, and they were extremely smart people, I'm sure they still are extremely smart people, like at least for computer science, smarter than me for sure, but no one on that table, that room, that day, was thinking outside the box. Perhaps even I wasn't thinking completely outside the box, because I was still thinking about locations and possibilities and things that I could do here on planet Earth. Like I was still boxed by, it has to be done here, it cannot be done anywhere else, which is pretty stupid because the universe is pretty large. So it has to be done like here in this millimeter in the middle of the continent or the ocean. Why can't it be done anywhere else in any other millimeter on this very vast continent or ocean or whatever? The answer is that it can be, but you're being constrained by your own mind to think that it has to be where you are. It has to be where you are, and it has to be using what you know, and it has to be using the smartest way that you're thinking about inside your box. However, that's not what thinking outside the box is, and it made me realize that experience from that day. I'm sure that experience would have made a lot of people feel really dumb, because I realized at that table that in the computer science box, I didn't have any of the great answers on the table, and I was one of the guys there. But outside, when we went into the bigger picture, I was thinking about things that no one on the table was thinking about. It's probably because of that I came up, I began coming up with series, science fiction, action thrillers, and stories that are incredibly good. In my opinion, they are my favorites, and I have been watching science fiction since I was a kid. Movies, series, even anime series, everything that you can think of, even video games, sci-fi video games. I love all that. And I never found better stories than the ones that I came up with in the last few years. They are still my favorites. I think that's why I began writing them, because I was, it was like something that made me feel like not at peace with myself. Like I know these stories that, in my opinion, they are the best ones. If I just keep them to myself, they feel really good, but no one's gonna know about them. So that's why I began writing and sharing that. Which, by the way, if you want to begin reading that, you can go to Wattpad, wattpad.com/user/Valkyrian Creator with a capital V. Valkyrian Creator. I have the username Valkyrian Creator right now being used in Wattpad. If you go to that link that I just said right now, that's me. And I'm using also in PSN, in the PlayStation Network. I also if you look for that Valkyrian creator there, that guy is me. The guy with the white Power Ranger, that's me. So I basically, the reason why I came up with the stories and the series that I can write, including the real reality series, which I'm doing right now, you can see it in that link, was because of all the outside the box thinking that I was doing. So now finally we're gonna get to what I really wanted to get to with this video. What is thinking outside the box with me? How do I, auto Pedro Cristobal, sees thinking outside the box? This is very linked, very deeply connected with the video about the, it was the second video about the dimensions of existence. I might put the link here so that people can also see that video. That video was so interesting. That video was talking about this, but in a different realm. I'm also thinking about that idea, those ideas, but in this different context. So for me, thinking outside the box, and this is my answer, is thinking about the constraint that you have for your location where you are, and the constraint that you have for the mind that you have. So the constraint for location, it is extremely clear to me. Many people probably don't think about this, like I ponder about it frequently, but the location constraint for us, for human beings, I don't know if there are other human beings in other planets. For us human beings here is planet Earth. So the location that we're basically constrained to, we cannot leave planet Earth. We're there. You can change country to another country, you can visit another continent, another place, but you cannot leave planet Earth. So this is the location that is, the major constraint, the box location. This is the box that you cannot exit location for us, is planet Earth. So thinking outside the box, when we're dealing with location, is thinking not just here on planet Earth, but outside it. You might need some imagination for that. Obviously, being smart helps, but if you really think about it, and I have realized this quite well, quite deeply, I will say, you don't need to be very smart to think outside of planet Earth. It has more to do with a mindset that is not tied to the box of location. You can think outside of planet Earth even if you can never exit it, if your mindset is not close to it. So basically, it's all about the mindset that you have, not about the amount of intelligence. It's about how you think. But it's not just about location. And here's the big thinking outside the box one. The mind that you have. How do you think? Well, you use the brain for thinking, which is the brain that we all have, the human one. And this is paradoxical material. This is, when you dig into this is something that philosophers may even write like PhD theses about. So you're truly thinking outside the box when you're thinking in a way that is not typical for the human mind. So you might think, okay, so how is that even possible? Like, you have human mind, if you're thinking with human mind, by default that should mean that you cannot think in a way that is not constrained. So by default that should mean that you cannot think in a way that the human mind cannot think like. However, it's probably one of the ways in which I came up with all the great ideas for the real reality series which I'm writing, and for the other series that I came up with, which hopefully, if God is great and merciful, I will be able to write some of those as well. Right now, I think there's too little time. I think the real reality series is the one that I can write for sure. I know others. That's not the only one I know. I know others as well, which are just as good as that one. But I would have never come up with that if I was thinking that we have to be the best because we're us, and because I am one of us. So it's like in the story, one of the ideas in the story, there are many ideas in the story which could be amazing ideas for science fiction, even groundbreaking ideas, somewhat new ideas, I would say. Just one of them, I'm just gonna pick this one from the box because I think it's one that is thinking outside the box. Like when we think about intelligent cybernetic beings, like intelligent robots, we think that we made them. We think that they evolved from what we began creating. We think that, oh, we made the first ones, like the computers basically, and we made this super arcade ones that clean the room and that sort of thing, and then we kept on making more intelligent ones and more intelligent ones and more intelligent ones until you arrive at one that ended up being almost like us, but not in a biological body, but in a body of actually metal, but not just metal, also cybernetic artificial components. So the natural way of thinking for the human brain, for us, it doesn't matter how smart you are, by the way. If you call a genius and you ask them about this, their natural way of thinking is, we came first, smart ones, we build them, and they might become smarter than us, but it was us who made them. So I began thinking, okay, so what if we make a series? Obviously it has to be an extremely epic, extremely good series, so people have to like it, not just because of this idea, but people have to like it because the characters are amazing and the series itself has an amazing plot, not just because of this idea, but this idea is there. So what if I make a series where it is the other way around, where we were the ones who were created by these smart robots, and the smart robots were the ones who came first? So what if we make a series like that? What if in that series we also eventually, right, not at the beginning, but eventually get to deal even with non-physical beings, and we do it in a way that is not fantasy, but that is still in the realm of science fiction. This is not the common stuff to be thinking, and I'm being completely honest here. This is not the common thing for a human brain to be thinking on a Saturday afternoon when you could be doing anything else that you could be thinking about. So the fact that I was thinking that way, and I know this very well now, I didn't think like this before. It's not about being smart. It really isn't. Some people will argue with me, oh, but you're smart on that. I'm not really that smart if you think about it. Has more to do with a mindset that thinks outside of the box, because most people, even extremely smart people like geniuses, were a lot, if you put them with me to do an SAT test, they're gonna finish in 1 hour with 100 in every question, and it's gonna take me, I might be able to get 100 every question too, but it's gonna take me like 2 or 3 days. So that, that's a level of intelligence that I have. Basically I can do it, but it takes me days, and you put one of these people to do it and they do it like 1 or 2 hours, and they probably do it in a way that's more efficient. However, even then, at least the ones that I know, will never ever in their whole lives entertain the idea that people that like the human race could have been created by robots. Even in a science fiction scenario, because I'm not saying, I'm not implying that this is the truth, even though I named the series I'm working on Real Reality, as if it was the real reality. That's why I named the series that way. But most people are not gonna even entertain that idea, and if you cannot accept that idea, you cannot entertain the possibility of that idea, then you cannot be the author that writes that series. It's not gonna happen because you never even thought about it, because you were not thinking outside the box for that idea, for that approach. So it's really not about intelligence, it's really about thinking outside the box. I think that in my own life, a great example of really thinking outside the box are the series that I can write, because they have, in addition to having really epic and amazing characters and plots, they also have these ideas that you wouldn't expect that. Like, at that point in the story, you just didn't expect that, and when it happens, some people might think about it like a plot twist. Other people might think about it like wow, that was amazing. Maybe they never thought about it. Others might even just read to see how it makes sense, because I write and I develop the plots and the series, the stories, the character in a way that makes common sense. So I make sure that I do my best, right, to stay in the realm of science fiction, not in fantasy, because in fantasy you don't need an explanation and it doesn't even have to be possible. But when you stay in the realm of science fiction, the idea is that this could happen if the events in that series or story had happened for real, but it hasn't happened yet, or maybe it's that basically science fiction is something that can happen if that technology had been done already, or if those events had happened already. So to me, science fiction is something that is possible, that is not fantasy. So the ideas that I develop in those series, they are really great. They are outside the box, in my opinion. They are an example of thinking outside the box for a science fiction action series, because they are also action series. There's a lot of action in my in my series, in my stories. But yeah, it's I used to think, like, when I was younger, that you have to be very smart to come up with this and to come up with that, and if you're not, then you're never gonna come up with that great stuff. Now I know, based on my own experience, even based on the stories that I came up with and all that it's not really that. It's not really the level of intelligence. It's actually the how open your mindset is to thinking outside the box, so that you can come up with those ideas, so that you can even accept those ideas, because it's the idea that the human race here on planet Earth, in this series that I made, was created. There's another word for it, but I don't want to spoil anything from my series. Even saying this, it's like a very, very little small spoiler. I don't think it's anything special, but because there are other greater ideas there and greater developments, so you will have to read it to find out, basically. You can have people who are smarter than me. You can have writers who are much better writers than me, who have like a PhD in writing. I never took a creative writing class. This is something I did by myself, pretty much. But I was thinking outside the box when I came up with all those series and stories, that's for sure. And it's not about being smart, it's not about being intelligent, it's about having a mindset that is ready for that. First of all, open to that, because if it is not open to that, you might even hear about those ideas to make that great series, and you might go like, oh no way, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense, or it's not a good idea, or it's not a good this, or it's not a good that. What do you think that happened with the guy that came up with Spider-Man? Spider-Man was an outside the box idea. That's like a mix, like a DNA genetic mix between a man and a spider, a human spider. But before it was done, before it was famous, before it was created, before it was drawn, and before everyone loved it and everyone thought that it was amazing, it was just an outside the box idea that this guy who would draw comics, who was in that comic related world, had. And I'm sure that many other people didn't do that because it was just like a weird idea to them. It was just like something that maybe didn't even make sense, and they were like, who's gonna want to buy that? Who's gonna want to read that, watch that? Who's gonna love that? I mean, like a man that's like a spider. Oh, that's, that scares people. But if you're thinking outside the box, it's actually the complete opposite. It is something that can be turned into something extremely interesting, like, because people are exploring something that they had never explored before. So that's, in my opinion, what thinking outside the box is all about. In my case, I'm doing it right now because I'm writing that right now. I'm doing it with those series. You could be doing it with something else. Other people could be doing it with something else. An artist that draws, works of art, like the great artists, Michelangelo, Da Vinci, all those people. Those people were thinking outside the box when they did their works of art. There are many other people that were doing it too. It's also possible that there are people who were doing it and who didn't become famous. I am very well aware that that's a possibility, but it doesn't change the fact that it was thinking outside that box, especially if they were doing something with their work of art that hasn't been done yet. The only way to do something that hasn't been done yet, in my opinion, it's not about being smarter. Oh, the guy was so smart that he came up with something that hadn't been done yet. It's not really about that. It is about this mindset that is, I don't want to say constantly, because no one is constantly thinking outside the box, but that is frequently open to entertaining ideas and thinking outside the box for those ideas and turning them into something interesting and great, even though most people were not thinking about those ideas and those things. And I think so far it's very likely, I don't want to say I'm sure about it because I could be wrong, but I'm almost sure about it, that this thinking outside the box, exploiting this ability, has been done the most. Guess where? In entertainment, in series, in books, in entertainment in general. Unfortunately, because it had been done a lot more in technology, we will be quite far. That's another idea that I use in this series. When I introduce the other intelligent species that is not the humans and is not the robots, which I'm about to do that right now, I think, in the first chapter where we learn a lot about the character Maddox. Yes, I'm gonna introduce in that chapter, which is the one I'm doing right now. So it is what it is. It is thinking outside the box, and I feel like I'm doing it with my series, with my writing. Imagination is one of the big ways, perhaps even the number one way, to think outside the box, because imagination is not constrained by the location, even by the planet. It's not constrained by the planets or the solar system, whatever you want to think about. It is not constrained by the location. If it is a really wild imagination like the one I have, it is not necessarily, in my opinion, right? It's, I don't have scientific proof for any of this. This is just what I feel. what I feel as what is, it is not necessarily constrained by your brain, even, because there are many things in imagination that you might be thinking about a character like I had to do, that is supposed to be above us, like at another level of intelligence, of existence, and being able to still, in a way that makes sense, right? In a way that doesn't feel like this doesn't fit here. Still being able to think about this character as if you were that, being that is at the superior level. It requires thinking outside the box, and requires imagination. And a lot of people will argue with me that you have to be a smart guy to think like that. But I think that's not necessarily true. It's more about the mindset that you have. Okay, so we have 44 minutes, so I'm gonna leave it here. So yeah, that's gonna be it for thinking outside the box with me, with Pedro Cristobal. So after this, I think after this I'm gonna be thinking outside the box for writing the series. I'm gonna go for finishing the next chapter, but the other videos that I'm gonna be doing, they're gonna be good, but they're not gonna be necessarily thinking outside the box. I want to start with the math related videos. I think I'm gonna share some really good tips that I can give for writing a good essay or better essays, perhaps even in less time. So let's say you're doing like an SAT essay, or they are measuring your time in an AP class, or you just have to write like a great essay in less than 1 hour. So obviously the classes, they're gonna teach you a lot of stuff, like these are methods that you can use to save time, these are ways to organize it and all that. But the tips that I'm gonna give for that are psychological. So what are psychological tips that you can use to put yourself, your mind, in the right mindset to write that essay better and faster? So I'm gonna make a video about that. That one's gonna be fast because I can talk about that in just 10 minutes. But it's not gonna be in this video because I'm gonna use this one for thinking outside the box. Think outside the box. So yeah, I hope you think outside the box after listening to this video. It's really something that if more people were open to that, the production of clever things in the world will go up. And it is not because of higher levels of intelligence, it is just because people are adopting a mindset that thinks in a way that is better for the generation of those new things. So yeah, innovation is not about being smarter. Innovation is about having that mindset that thinks outside the box. I think it is the real reason why I come up with the stories. It's not just being clever, being smart. It's the fact that I like thinking outside the box for entertainment. Because there are different things I could think outside the box for. For entertainment is what I like thinking outside the box. And it's really a paradox if you think about it, because so I mentioned, in my opinion, thinking outside the box is thinking about the constraint that you have of location, which for us, it's not really your country, it's planet Earth, if you think about it. So it's thinking not necessarily constrained to planet Earth or outside of planet Earth. Many people never think like that. I think that it's great to think like that. And that's what I come up with those, stories and all that. And the other thing is thinking, how can I describe this in a way that makes perfect sense for everyone? I don't want to say thinking outside the human brain, because it's something that is kind of like contradictory. Like right now, I'm talking, obviously, thinking from my human brain. That's obvious, but you know, if you think in a way that is probably not typical, even for smart people to think like, and it requires an imaginative way of thinking, I think could go beyond. It's kind of paradoxical, right? Because if you think about it, if you're capable, if it is possible, I don't know if it is possible or not, but let's pretend that it is. If it was possible to think outside of your own human brain, then by default that will mean that there's more to us than, guess what, than the physical, than the human brain. So it's, if there was some way to prove that we really can think outside the constriction of what our brain can think, it will be revolutionary, because number one, it's kind of paradoxical, but if you prove it, then it will prove that there's more to us. You never know, maybe this, you know, more to us was what helped me to come up with the amazing stories, because they are really amazing. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it here. Go to my website and begin reading the Real Reality series so that you can begin thinking outside the box too. Go to wattpad.com/user/Valkyrian Creator, which is the username I'm using right now for the Wattpad website. I'm using it at PSN. I'm not using it anywhere else. So if you see that username anywhere else, it's not me. I might begin using it for maybe LinkedIn. That would be thinking outside the box. Who names themselves Valkyrian Creator at LinkedIn, where everyone wants to sound professional? That's thinking outside the box if I do something like that. So, alright, that's gonna be it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I definitely enjoy it. I enjoy thinking outside the box and making videos like this, and you know, I'm gonna get more serious with the math videos, because the math videos are, you know, a math tutorial, but hopefully I will make it a lot more fun, and people are going to be able to understand math a lot better with author Pedro Cristobal. I hope it happens that way. So I'm gonna do it in a way that is good to make it happen like that. And meanwhile, I'm gonna be doing also on the side, I'm gonna be doing the Real Reality series to put us all to think outside the box. You know, just me. You know, that feels a little selfish. I don't want it to be just me. I want it to be as many people as possible, so that we can all benefit from one man's outside the box thinking, from what I thought about when I came up with that series. But it's pretty obvious to me that anyone else who reads it, they are gonna have those outside the box thoughts that I had, so they will be able to come up with other stuff of their own. Maybe even other authors. If you're an author who's also writing in science fiction and you read what I wrote, I will almost bet that it's going to influence you a little in your own writing. But that's a good thing. You know, it's a great story, so you know, it's great. So let the great stuff influence you, because it's gonna be, you know, especially if it is positive stuff. If it is positive, if it has good ideas, you know, everything for the good, then it is a good influence for anyone. And that's going to be it. I'm gonna leave it here. Otherwise, I'm gonna go over 53 minutes, and I don't want that. So see you next time.